welcome to another episode of Unscripted with Marilyn Morales. Today's guest I was introduced to by Emilio Roman of Author Millionaire Academy, who is the publisher of an upcoming book, Born to Risk. I have a chapter in that book, and so does my next guest. So I'm very excited to share his journey. His name is Anthony Cutno. Anthony was born on October 22nd, 1983 in New Orleans, Louisiana, and was raised between New Orleans and Atlanta, Georgia. I'm sure there's a story there about the back and forth of Anthony's journey. He graduated from Redan High School in Stone Mountain, Georgia in 2000 and entered the Air Force boot camp in September of 2004. After spending a year in the Air Force and being kicked out, and we're going to talk about that, he joined the Marine Corps a few days later and went to boot camp in March of 2005 in Parris Island. Anthony has medically retired from the Marine Corps in June of 2018. He is a motivational, inspirational speaker and is currently writing 2 books. Anthony shared with me that Born to Risk is one, and that's coming out in August of this year. And in addition to that, he has his own autobiographical book, which is called The Example. And I'm very excited to read that book. So let us welcome Anthony to the show. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning.
This is a very, very, very interesting bio. And when we talk about the fact that you and I are both in that book, Born to Risk, right? And thank you, Emilio, for the connection. I can see that your chapter is going to be something else, right? Because it seems that there was a lot going on in your past and you've come through a lot. So I'm excited to hear your story and for you to share your journey.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to everybody to hear it and read it.
Yeah. So just what I heard alone, there's a lot to unpack, right? But I'm gonna let you share your story, right? About what you've been through, and how you've come out of that. So start the story wherever you want to start it.
Okay. I have to start at the beginning. So, born on October 22nd. That is also the day that I died the first time. So I died a total of 3 times, and I died before I was born. So my mother was having a C-section, and before that, she was told not to have kids for her own health, not to have kids at all. And so she had 2 miscarriages before me, and they were both boys, and then they both died. And then when I came along, she was actually got selected to the Air Force Academy, and then she found out I was pregnant with me, and then she couldn't go. So then real rough on birth, and she has real bad asthma. They were doing a C-section, and she woke up during the C-section. And then, with all of that stuff like that, seeing everything, I guess her medical field, she died. And then when she died, I died. And when that happened, I went to purgatory, because all I can remember is screaming, darkness, and all that stuff like that. So years later, actually it was on my day before my 40th birthday, or the day of. Was the day of the day before. It was around that time. Actually, I asked her about it because it had came up through this whole journey that I'm on with writing and speaking, and how that came about. So I asked her, and she verified, and her and my dad both verified. Was like, yeah, that happened. But my mom was like, the scream you probably heard was her when she woke up. The doctors and my dad outside the hospital room, because he wasn't allowed into the room because of how birth and everything. And the doctors brought her back, but I was still dead. And then all I could remember or feel was that, God was like, you're not done. You haven't even started yet, and then boom, I just woke up, and then that was that. I was born.
Okay, so let me take a pause. Let me take a pause and let's unpack that a little bit. So mom is giving birth. has to have a C-section because of an asthma attack, right? She's not breathing, she's having difficulty. She then loses consciousness or her vital signs. Did they have to do CPR on mom?
I don't know exactly how they brought her back. I just know that the doctors brought her back doing whatever they was doing, because she had a C-section. She was actually open. She was
So
opening.
it was in the middle of it. They hadn't even
Yeah.
taken you out yet. Okay.
Right. Right.
Right. So something happened. They had to revive mom. If you were now, and we don't know whether you were out or not, because we don't know that detail, right? But you had not taken your first breath yet. Is that
Right.
accurate? Right.
Yes.
So they were trying to make sure that they could get you to take your first breath and to start getting a heartbeat and everything. Okay. So they were then able to do that. Now, when you talk about remembering, right? As an infant, when did you start having memories of something that had happened that was traumatic?
Years
Yeah.
later.
Okay.
So we would have to fast forward. So we're gonna be
Yeah.
fast forward and going back. So I forget, it was like last year or the year before last. It was it was around the same time that I ended up meeting Dr. Reed and meeting Emilio, and it was the summertime. Yeah, it was the summertime of last year.
Okay.
And I was sitting outside and I was smoking weed, marijuana. I was sitting outside and I was going through a spiritual battle along with a personal battle and family battle at the same time. And I was sitting outside, doing what I was doing, and I was talking to God. And I already have long term and short term memory loss and issues because of a TBI I had, and that's another story we have to go back to my childhood for.
And for those that don't know what TBI is, that's called a traumatic brain injury, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so a lot of my childhood memories, I have none at all. I go off of what people tell me, looking at pictures and stuff like that. So I was outside, and something told me to go in and talk to my sister. This was in the middle of the night, the matter to be exact.
Okay.
And as something just pulls me, I'm gonna say it, the spirit just pulls me up, picks me up, and walks me inside. And as I'm walking inside, my sister, who I was told to go talk to, coincidentally, is coming towards me in the kitchen. And then I just have a full blown Holy Ghost spiritual awakening moment. I literally just fall to my knees. I'm laid out on the floor, hands all out, sprayed out, crying, boo-hooing, snot running, like the whole nine. And all I'm saying is, I get it, I get it, I get it, I get it. I understand, I understand, I understand, I understand. This goes on for a couple of minutes. And then as I'm like coming to, so in a sense, and I'm getting myself together, clean up, I tell my sister, I want to go to your church because this is a Saturday. This is a Saturday going into Sunday.
So Saturday night.
And so we go to church. I go to her church, and the preacher is talking about Habakkuk, and I never heard of Habakkuk before. I ain't know who he was or whatever. But the preacher is saying that he's mentioned the Bible, but he's not mentioned a lot. But his role, he plays a pivotal role, because he's one of the few, from my own little reading about it, one of the few disciples that actually got to actually sit down and question God. He got to actually ask God questions, and God answered his questions. And the way the preacher was talking, and he was explaining it and talking about his journey and this, that was me. That was exactly what I was going through at that time. And this is my first time going to church in years. And so as he's doing all that talking, I'm listening, I'm making a connection, and it just hitting me like I'm crying while he's talking. And he finishes, and he said, whoever wants to come forward, give their life to the Lord and everything else. And again, something just grabbed my legs and walks me up there. I've never been to church before. I don't know none of these people. I don't know the preacher. I don't know anything about them. And as I'm walking up there and I'm crying and stuff like that, and I'm looking at him and he looking at me and he looking at me and I'm walking up there. I'm the only one up there. I'm up there by myself. Nobody else
Okay.
comes. And so I'm turning around, I'm looking at these people, and then I'm not scared, I'm not shy, nervous, I'm perfectly calm. But I'm crying at the same time. And he do one last request for people to come up, and nobody comes. Nobody. So I told him later on that you wrote that for me. You spoke to me. That what you said and what you was meant right was meant for me to hear. And so after we go through that whole process, slowly my childhood memories start coming back. I start to remember stuff, things that I've never remembered. And then because I ask questions. So I start asking questions, um, and that's how I started getting answers about my birth. I start asking other questions. Memories start coming back. As your memories are coming back, I'm asking questions about these memories to see if they're really my memories, or I'm just, my brain just put stuff together at that time, but they're actual
Right.
memories.
Right. And so one of those
And
memories was your birth.
it was my birth. And
Did you feel it and understand that that was your birth, or did you just remember
no,
that
I
there was
knew.
something dark?
I
You
remember.
knew. You had
I
a knowing that
remember.
that was your birth. So your brain took
Mm,
you way back,
right.
right to the beginning.
Yes.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
and that's how that happened. And that's how, okay, that actually happened. Like my mom and dad both verified that actually happened.
They happened.
And then
Okay.
they started telling me
Incredible.
why my dad couldn't come in the room. My mom was like, why she had to have a C-section. I knew about the two miscarriages before, because if they would have been born, we would have been a year
A
apart.
year apart. Okay.
And yeah, that's how that happened.
And your mother was able to have children because you mentioned a sister. She was able to have
Yeah.
children after you.
Right, I have between my mom, it's only two of us. My dad has a total of six, but my mom is
Okay.
two of us, and me and my younger, so who's a year younger than me.
Your sister. Okay.
Hmm.
All right, great. So then let's move forward then. So now so this was last year that this happened. So you've been
Yeah.
in this journey maybe even less than a year because we're not even in June. You're talking about June of last year,
Hmm.
right? So a little bit less than that. You start having these revelations, you start having memories back. Um, and then what happens after that? Like what does your journey look like after that day in church?
So after that happened, things just start clicking. Things just start clicking. I had already written a couple of chapters of my own book. I get introduced to all types of different people, and things just start happening. But at the same time, the Lord is talking to me, but He's talking to me through ways that I can understand, and I know that He's talking to me. All my social media algorithms just start changing on their own. My YouTube algorithms start changing. My Instagram, Facebook, the internet start changing. Conversations that I'm having with people, they start changing. They're all spiritual conversations, and then the algorithms that I'm watching, they're literally related to what I'm going through at that time. Or if I'm having one of my nice visions, I start getting visions. I start having deja vu of me having deja vu. Uh, Voices start coming into my head, good and bad. Memories start coming back, and these are traumatic memories. So I'm like, okay, these are my memories that my brain or my body buried, and God is bringing them back out. And then through all of these, I'm getting clarity, I'm getting calmness, I'm getting the understanding. The way I talk is changing. The music I listen to is changing. The algorithm on my YouTube music and Spotify, all of that is changing. It's changing on its own. I'm not doing anything. And I'm big into rap. I'm not listening to rap anymore. I'm listening to actually like gospel rap or spiritual music. The artists, everything just start changing. And then on the
Mm.
opposite side, I'm being attacked through my own family. Those closest to me is going to come at you when you start getting through that. You start breaking that barrier. I start doing spiritual mathematics. My sergeant major, who actually introduced me to Dr. Reed, to Jose Escobar, to Emilio. I met all these men on the exact same day at the exact same place at the same time. And
Wow. And just so
things just
people
start
know, these are
happening.
people that are very spiritual as well. They're all spiritual
Mhm.
soldiers as
Yeah,
well. And they're in the space of they're publishers, they're leaders of entrepreneurs, that lead you into different spaces in your life. I've been connected to all three men as well. And they have all been a blessing to me as
yeah,
well. Yeah,
same
so I
here.
know what
And
you're talking about. I know what you're talking about, right? So talk to me about your memory loss. How many years were you without these memories?
my whole life.
So the traumatic brain injury occurred when?
Um, the first one happened when I was like 5 or 6 years old, 7 years old,
Okay.
and we was living in Atlanta. I was living in Atlanta, and my parents were still married, and they actually divorced a little while after this happened. And as the story that I was told was that I'm in the kitchen, and my mom is cooking. I'm in the kitchen playing with my dad, and my younger sister, she's a little kid, and for some reason, somehow, I end up on top of the counter, and I just jump. I just jump off the counter, and my dad's back is towards me, and he sees I'm jumping, so he hurries up and tries to catch me, and he doesn't catch me. I fall, hit the floor, and boom, my head is open.
Ooh,
And then so they go to the emergency room, all that stuff like that. And I believe I died, but I don't remember that. So I don't know if that's something I'm gonna get back later.
okay.
But they was like, that's a whole ordeal in itself, and I still don't know all the details with that. But I do know that they had to do brain surgery on me. Had to learn how to walk right, all that stuff again like that.
So you had to start all over again at the age of 5 years
Mhm.
old. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's your first traumatic brain injury. So how
hmm
many have there been?
that I can remember, total of three that I can remember,
Okay, and you
but
started
only
because you had to relearn, right? So that was
mhm.
where, as you were growing up, you were having memory issues as well in school and things like that after that first one, or no?
No, no, I didn't realize. Nobody actually realized I started having memory issues until after the plate was put in. So the plate was put
Okay.
in. The plate was put in. I forget why it was put in, but the plate was put in right before I hit puberty. And this is the same plate that was put in is the same plate that's still in there now. And later I
Did you
find
have a
out.
second accident? Did you have a second accident that required the plate being put in the skull?
No, it was something with my brain. I don't remember or know all the details, but it was something that was going on with my brain and stuff. Cause I had a real bad stutter. Like you can see, it's still there now, and it
Right.
was something with my brain and whatever brain things that goes on from having that
Okay. And
that
yeah, and
issue.
that could be so many things. When I think about that, that could be the fact that maybe your skull wasn't expanding enough for your brain, and so that they had to expand it for you, right? As you're
Could
growing.
be.
So something could have been
Mhm.
done because of the initial surgery. So there's a lot of things that could have caused the fact that they needed to give you more space in that skull, and why they
Yeah.
put that plate in there in order to do that. So you were stuttering before the plate, and they put the plate in there to help with that as well, or that happened after the plate?
After.
After the plate.
After.
Okay. So now you're hitting puberty, right? You now have this
Mhm.
plate put in your head. You now have a little bit of a stutter, right? It's not
Yeah.
bad at all. Um, and then what happens after that?
Then I just go through life. I go through school. The teachers thought I had a special needs issue, a learning disability, but come to find out, and with all little tests they gave me, I aced all them tests. I had
Yeah.
no issues, no anything, no nothing. It was just I found out that the plate had fused to my brain and my skull fused to the plate. And the scar tissue from the plate is going inside my brain. And it's been going in my brain ever since they put it in. And
Uh-huh.
so I go through life, moving back and forth between New Orleans and Atlanta because my parents divorced at the time. My dad stayed in Atlanta. My mom, she moved us back here to New Orleans. So I go through life, go through school, but I'm angry all the time. I'm fighting all the time. I'm living that New Orleans street life, as you can say.
Okay.
That's the life that I'm living. And I'm going through all of that, and I end up getting put out the actual state of Louisiana. So in Louisiana we have parishes. I get put out the parish, and then because of that, and my dad is still in New Orleans. I'm still in Atlanta. My mom and my godmother didn't want me and my two godbrothers going to school together because they were in that life too. So they're like, we can't have all three of y'all going to the same school at the same time. Like that is not
Yeah,
going to happen.
yeah, bad recipe, right? For all you guys plotting.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They're like, no, that is not going to happen. So
Okay.
the terms that I remember, and I don't know, to this day, my mom and aunt still won't tell me what actually happened, how that happened. But all I know is that it was either me get charged as an adult, as a teenager, because I was like 17, 18, no, 17. Yeah, I was 17. It was like either I get charged as an adult and have to go to the adult prison, which is Louisiana would have been Angola. I would have went through the system, but I would at the end I would ended up at Angola whatever time at Angola, which
Okay.
was like 30 something years. And so I haven't physically seen my dad in years. I know who he is, talked to him on the phone, and all that stuff. But I haven't physically seen him because he was in Atlanta,
Hmm.
and the divorce wasn't a good divorce. He how he was living, whatever. So I go to Atlanta, go and live with him, and then I start out. I think I started going to Stone Mountain. Yeah, start going to Stone Mountain High, and then went to other little schools, bouncing around them, but end up at Stone Mountain, and then I end up going to Redan High School, which is where I ended up graduating from. And so after that, I stayed in Atlanta for a couple months, a year, trying to figure out what to do, and then I end up coming back to New Orleans. And when I came back to New Orleans, I go right back to the same life, doing the
The
same
street
thing.
life.
Yeah, doing the same thing I was doing. And while my sister, who is really weird because we grew up in the same house, where but we're different. Our lives are
Right,
totally
with
different,
different
totally different
personalities.
experience, everything. And so my mom was like, "All right." So my dad was in the Air Force, and he got kicked out the Air Force also. And then, like I say, when my mom found out she was pregnant with me, she was going to the Air Force Academy. So
Yeah,
she
yeah,
was
it's a
like,
military family, right?
mm-hmm,
All gung ho about all about that. You talk
yeah,
about that too. You went into the Air Force, right?
I
And you were
did.
kicked out of the Air Force. Talk to me a little bit about
Mhm.
how that happened.
So that happened when my mom made me. I didn't say she made me join. She forced
Encouraged
that
you.
on me, encouraged me.
She
So
strongly encouraged you to join.
yes, basically,
Okay.
she had tricked me going into I forgot. I think going to Walmart, the store, I don't know, or whatever. But she was like, basically, sign these papers, or you ain't going back to my house right now. You ain't going to my house
Oh.
if you don't sign these
Mm.
papers. So sign the papers, get into the Air Force, and my mindset is still the same. And then on top of that, I'm 21 at this time. So I turned
Mhm.
21 in the Air Force boot camp. And I'm basically on my own. All I'm told is a time to be at different places, but my mind is still not hitting like, oh, you're in the military right now. You got to change all that. I'm still chasing the women because it's majority women. And then the base I was in Shepherd Air Force Base is where the Air Force medical was, which was like 99.99% female. So I'm on my own doing all of that. And so through
From one life to another.
so I'm doing all of that. So through all that, it's just how my grade, I'm at my second school. I'm at my second school.
Okay.
So my grades start falling. This at that same time, Air Force is downsizing. So they like, you gotta go.
Because you're not
So
doing the right thing, right?
right,
You weren't performing to the level. You do understand that your mother was trying to save your life at this point.
yes. Which
Get you off the
she
street.
did. Which she did. So she was working for ICE at the time. Well, it wasn't named ICE back then, but that's what she was working for, and they were all Marines. It's like I was a Mitch Jordan because all of them was Marines, and the
Okay.
Marine Corps is like this big, but it's really that big because everybody know everybody. They know somebody that knows somebody.
Okay.
So I'm talking with the Army to go be a warrant officer in the Army, and when I get a call from the Marine Corps recruiter. And I didn't even know the Marine Corps was. They know it existed, anything like that. Um,
Mhm.
so, because even in the Air Force, I was working with Air Force, Army, and Navy, and the Navy Seabees. Those are instructors. Those who I was going to the schools with and stuff like that. And so I ended up telling both the recruiters, I'm gonna be home on this day and I want to leave as soon as possible because all I know is I have to finish at least 4 years in the military. That's all I know. I have to finish at least 4 years in the military, or I'm going to prison. So the Air Force gives me an honorable discharge. They give me the code so I can join another branch.
Okay.
And so I get home. The Army recruiter ghosts me. The Army recruiter just when I told him to talk with the Marine Corps, he ghosted me. And
Okay.
so I get home as I'm pulling up. My guard brother, who I wasn't supposed to go to school with, he ended up picking me up and bringing me home. And as soon as I'm getting out the car, there go the two of the Marine Corps recruiters, a male and a female. They come walking towards me, and these are memories that I lost. These
Okay.
are memories that I lost, and then they coming back. And so they come out there, and I say, are y'all the Army and the Marine Corps? They say, we're the Marines. I'm like, all right, cool, because they got on our uniform. And I'm like, all right, shake his hand. And boom, this is a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday afternoon, evening, or whatever. And then they take
Mhm.
me in, do the whole process and stuff like that. And then boom, that Monday, I'm in Parris Island, Marine Corps boot camp.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot, right? That's a lot. And how long were you there? Did you complete the 4 years that you needed to in the Marine
Yeah,
Corps?
I did a total of 14 years and 9 months.
14 years. From 4 years, you went to 14.
Yes, I had no intentions of leaving the Marine Corps at all. My goal was to retire as a sergeant major. That was my goal. I wanted to be a sergeant, which is on the enlisted side. It's the top. It's the top. It's
Top
a
tier.
E9, and that was my goal. I was like, okay, I made it this far, and when I was being a major retired, I was actually about to get promoted to E7, which is a colonel sergeant. Kind of, I was about to, I was coming up for a promotion, and my sergeant major at the time, who was Sergeant Major Clay, who his book came out from here to there. That's the name of his book. He actually introduced me to Dr. Reed through
Okay.
his book, and he
Okay.
told Dr. Reed about me, and then just went on from there, and then ended up meeting him, and this is it now. Now I'm here.
And now you're here. So you talked about a third traumatic brain injury and where you lost memory, right? So
Mhm.
where was that next traumatic brain injury that caused all the memories to be erased?
That was I failed. I think I failed. No, I got into a fight. It was
Mhm.
one of my fights. It was one of my fights, and the guy ended up slamming me down on the floor. And I don't remember. I didn't lose conscious or anything. Like I'm still getting it in, and kind of find out he slammed me to the floor. I get back up, and then that was one of the people I ended up hurting real bad. I hurt him real bad,
Mhm.
but at the time I didn't know what was going on. And then
Mhm.
so afterwards, I'm sitting down. Afterwards, I'm feeling sick. And I start throwing up or whatever. And so I get checked out. Going to find out I got hit again. and after that, I don't remember a whole lot.
So
So
someone you
they
got
was like,
amnesia after that,
yeah, so they was like basically it just compounded on what was already
all
going
the
on.
trauma.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, all the
And
trauma. And what year was that? Do you recall or?
I want to say like 90 something. I was in high school. I was in high
Okay.
school when this happened.
All right. So then, but you were able to get through the military successfully for 14 years, even though you
Hmm.
had memory loss,
Yeah.
short term and long term. You still successfully able to do the things that you needed to do to get to where you wanted to get to.
Yes.
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 Okay. And until recently, those memories didn't start coming back. To
Right.
me,
I
that's
had.
amazing that you're able to do those kind of things, yet you're having memory issues, right?
Hmm.
Because I would think that in the military, it's important to remember, right?
Yeah.
Where operations, what you're doing, where you have to be. I mean, were those things not difficult for you?
No, I honestly I had no issues, no real issues in the Marine Corps. As my all my doctors say, I naturally compensated without even knowing.
Okay.
Like I naturally compensated for that by keeping a bunch of sticky notes. I have a couple of little books. I kept a bunch of notes in, and then I just did it. To me, that was God just put me on just put me on the path to get me here because I've learned so much, met so many people. But yeah, I didn't never had no real issues in the Marine Corps. Like
Okay.
I never been to Iraq, I never been to Afghanistan, but a lot of other things I did were on a different side that's not really publicized.
Okay.
Everybody know the Marine Corps for fighting, going this and that, combat, da 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 da. Da. And that was not my experience. Now I'm
Hmm.
proud to say like it. I That was not my experience. I like I said again, never been to Iraq, never been to even my job, my Marine Corps job is not a combat job, and that was forced on me because of the Air Force and the whole
Okay.
Marine Corps
Yeah,
military
and I would think that
thing.
because you had these traumatic brain injuries, that they needed to be cautious to put you into combat, right?
I
So
was
there
not even
was
supposed to join. Come to find out,
right.
I was not even
Yeah.
supposed to join.
With all of that. I find that unusual, right? So that's what I'm
Hmm.
saying. Usually things like that would disqualify you from being able to participate in a lot of those things. But you stayed out of combat, but you had your own personal war going on. Your war with yourself, your war with your life. You know, when you talk about being in the streets and the things that you were doing, right?
Hmm.
That was a personal war that you needed to battle. I love the title of your book, The Example. Um, does that have to do now everything that you've gone through, right? Now that you can look back and now that you're getting your memories back and a lot of those things are coming back to you, where you see where you came from and where you are now, to prevent others, other young men, other young Black men, from following suit and from doing the things that you did. Have you been
Hmm.
successful in talking to young Black men to avoid them from doing the same things that you did?
Actually, yes. Come to find out, talking with my nephew and like the other Marines that I served with, I'm still friends with now, and people I met along the way and everything else. Come to find out, I've been actually living my purpose all these years, my whole life, without even knowing. Like I have, they
That's
told me
impactful.
yeah, I didn't even know that they've been that as I'm doing what I'm doing now and I'm telling what I'm doing and seeing what I'm doing and we have these conversations, they always open up naturally to me, but now we're getting like deeper into it. Now I'm getting you know, you always encourage me, I'm following you. I see what you doing, how are you doing? And they know about my story in my life and it was like I'm encouraging them to do this and this. My cousin who's been a big supporter, he's opened up to me about his own personal journey that he went through his life, being in prison, again, being in the streets, dealing with selling drugs and this and that. He's telling me stories, and this like it's gonna find out I've been impacting people my whole life without even knowing I was doing. I was literally just being myself.
Right. And
Mm.
this is important. People are watching. You may not know it, right? It's almost like
Mhm.
Facebook, right? You see all these views on things that you put out there, but your likes may only be And let's give an example. You got 5 likes on your post, but 200 views. What does that tell you? Not
Yeah,
everybody
that
likes
is
you,
it.
but everybody's watching. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Right? That, I'm
Mm,
like, so people are watching and they're watching your example, and people are going to be affected by that. So it's always more important what you do rather than what you say, rather than what you put out there. Is how do you live your life on the day to day, right? Because
mm,
people are watching, right? And they will either take
right.
from that, be harmed by that. And, so that is something that I try to be conscious of, right? How I live my
Mm,
life and being careful with it, because more importantly is not what you see on a post, but when you see me every day, when I interact with you on an everyday basis, that's more important
yeah.
in regards to that. Um, Very important. So the back to the example, and you being example your whole life, and now you've had this awakening in the last year, where now God is giving you back your memories for a new purpose, right? You've been living your purpose. Now you have a a new purpose that you're starting to live now with speaking and writing, right?
Mhm.
What else, what do you see for yourself in the next 5 years?
I see myself actually on stage with more on books come out. I see me bringing my kids on stage. I see me reconnecting with my oldest son, who I haven't seen since he was 9 years old. You know, I see me basically just actually living what I'm actually speaking. Because right now, now that I'm aware and I'm conscious and I see what's going on and I fully understand everything that's going on, and I see that I already been trying to fix my life so that I can be the example to my children. Because I'm really doing all of this for my children and the others out there watching, but it's mainly for my own children. Because I don't want to I don't want to repeat the cycle that has been going on. I don't want to be the actual stereotypical black man that doesn't have a relationship with his children. But I also understand that before I can start doing that, I have to fix me. I have to get me straight. Going through the child support system, dealing with the mothers and everything. I understand how all of that plays a part. Like I know that I'm not perfect. I'm not the perfect dad. I made mistakes. I have my faults. I call myself a imperfect, perfect sinner because I am a sinner. I'm not perfect by far,
Yeah.
you know. So, but I see myself correcting those mistakes, being the actual breaker of generational curses, and that's the title of my book, The Example to My Children,
Mm.
and to other men, to other women, on how to handle men and be with men, and boys and stuff like that. Because a lot of my mothers that I do have are single mothers. How the mother of my all the mothers of my children are single mothers. I don't want that. So I see myself actually living what I'm speaking and being the example.
So that sounds like that was your number one lesson from life, is to be the example, right?
Yes.
And
Hmm.
to change what that looks like for others. That's beautiful.
Hmm.
I love that. And heal yourself. That's really important, right? Heal yourself so that you can heal others. So you're
Right.
on that. You talked a little bit about, and before we finish up, you talked about when you go down this path of spirituality, you get attacked, right? We talked about
Hmm.
spiritual warfare. Things get attacked by the people that are closest to you. Can you
Right.
talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Because that happens
So
a lot. That happens a lot. I hear that a lot. That when someone else said it was flaming arrows, that when you're going down this path, it's like flaming arrows are coming right at you
mm,
because you're walking down the spiritual path. Do you find that that's true for you too?
it is, and all this started when I actually had my clarity. All this started within, but so this happened when this started happening back in for a while. So it changed me when the third time I died. So I died a total of 3 times.
Right.
Two of those times I went to hell. I went to different parts in hell, and had both little demons on side me. One with red fiery eyes. That was the first time I died and went to hell. And then the second time he had blue fiery eyes, and they both took me to different parts of hell. The blue fiery eye demon, he took me to a long hallway, dark hallway, and they both basically told me for a time. They basically both told me that this is where you're going. They said the exact same thing. This is where you're going. This is where you're going. This is where you're going. And then through my life and our experiences, and then I told you, things started changing automatically for me, and I started getting closer, this and that. And then as I started understanding the stages of a spiritual awakening and breaking through those barriers, I started studying the mathematics, spiritual mathematics. Started studying that through Sergeant Major Clay, who started this whole for me. And then that's when everything just changed. My dad had to have a liver transplant. My siblings were coming at me, we're not speaking right now, but that's going to be fixed, and whenever it's fixed. And those are the people closer to me. Family means everything to me. If you're my friend, if I call you my friend and I can call you in the middle of the night, or you can call me in the middle of the night, you're family to me. But my actual blood family started coming at me. Not all of them, but my siblings, the ones closest to me.
Right.
My circle, they started coming. They started getting mad. We're not talking right now. At this very moment, we haven't spoke. They haven't called. They haven't asked me what I'm doing. Nothing. So
is that because they don't accept that you're now on a different path?
We haven't talked, so I don't know, man. But I know some of it is dealing with my dad and family, and then me, how I am, and then I'm changing now. So the Anthony that they grew up with, that they know, is not the same person, but their perception is the same. The way they treat me is
Anthony
the same.
from before. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's important to know, that as you start to change yourself, people only remember the former version of you, and they don't know, And you mentioned the circle. And I recently heard something about looking at the people that surround you, right? And do they uplift you? Do they propel you forward to do the right things in life? Or do you truly have a circle, or do you have a cage? Or do you have a cage?
I have a circle.
Okay. All right. Because you got to make sure that those people that surround you uplift you. And if they don't, then you have a cage. You don't have a circle. And it's time to change that. Right?
No, I have a circle, and I call them circles my angels, because all this started when they came into my life. So it was literally, how they say you got the angel on one shoulder, the devil on the other. That's literally how it was.
Listen, sometimes God makes a path for us, right? And those the people that are our family, that are blood related, sometimes some people are removed from your life so that you can, to clear the path for what you're supposed to do, right? And when it's time, they'll be back. You can reconcile once again. But right now you're on a path, and we got to keep you moving forward. So that brings me to my last question for you, and that is your definition of success.
My definition of success is just happiness. As long as you peace and your happiness, it does not matter how much money you have, where you live in, what you drive, none of that material worldly stuff. My definition of success is peace. As long as you have that peace, and you know that you did everything you do, and your lineage, people around you are good, and you yourself is good, and you have no regrets, and you have that peace of mind, that clarity, you're successful in my eyes. And that's my definition of success.
Amen, Anthony. Thank you so much for being here today. If someone wants to get a hold of you, they want to purchase your book that's coming out in the future, again, he's got a chapter in Born to Risk. And his book, The Example, is coming out later this year, right? We're hoping around June that's going to be
Yes.
available. How can people get a hold of you and buy that book?
On all my social media, Anthony Cutno at Facebook, Anthony Cutno 504 underscore USMC is my IG. DivineWarriorsDimension.com. Everything will be on there right now. We're going through getting that website up and running. You can buy my book on there. You can hit up the Milk Academy, Dr. Reed, and the purchase on there. The book will be available on Amazon and everywhere else. So you just find me.
Fantastic.
To be available.
Just make sure you share with me when that happens, when it's ready to roll. Share with me, and I'll be posting it as well and sharing it on my Facebook handles as well. So anybody who is interested, I'm looking forward to reading your book and promoting it as well. Anthony, again, thank you for being here. For all my viewers, please don't forget, visit izzy'slegacyinc.org. That is my nonprofit organization that supports this podcast. We talk and educate those of minority backgrounds, the Black, Hispanics, and mixed ethnicity people of the need to join the bone marrow, the National Marrow Registry. So please look us up. We also help people who are having financial struggle if they're in a cancer journey. So reach out to us. And for my viewers, I will see you next time.